Hendrix told me to document my first solo run. And I said that seems like exactly the kind of paper trail a person shouldn't leave. And he looked at me with the half of his face that still does expressions, and said it's not that kind of documentation. I said, what kind is it then? He said the kind where if something goes wrong, they need to know what you did in what order. I said what could go wrong. He made the jaw movement that I've decided to interpret as a sigh. So, documenting. Platform 6, South Station, 2:31 a.m. Bench nearest the pillar. Because that's where Hendrix showed me you sit. Not the middle bench. Middle bench means you're waiting for a train. Not the end bench. End bench means you're avoiding someone. Pillar bench means you work here. Or you work somewhere enough like here that nobody looks twice. I have the clipboard, which I cannot overstate the importance of. The clipboard is the whole job. I could be standing over a man with a ceremonial knife and a clipboard, and someone would walk past thinking, maintenance issue, hope they sort that out. I've been in this job 6 weeks. The clipboard was the most important thing I learned in week 1. The second most important thing was how to fill out the missed candidate form without visibly grinding my teeth. But that's week 3 material. 4 people on the platform. I assess automatically now which Hendrix said would happen, and which I found briefly unsettling when it did. But here we are. Woman with a rolling bag. Business travel. Confirmation number on her phone. Not a candidate. She's accounted for somewhere. Itineraries exist. Someone is expecting her to land. 2 students sharing a phone. Together. Witnesses are disqualifying. Full stop. It's the first line in the materials. The 4th one is on the end bench. He's 60, maybe 65. He has a library book, actual library book, the plastic-wrapped kind with the sticker on the spine, and reading glasses. And he is reading at 2:38 in the morning on a train platform, as if this is a perfectly reasonable place to be at 2:38 in the morning, which for him, apparently it is. The book is thick. He is a third of the way through. His canvas tote has what appears to be another book in it, because he anticipated needing backup. His shoes are clean. His coat is clean. He has no confirmation number. He is not tracking a connection. He is a man who needed to get somewhere, and the 2:47 is how. And nobody is monitoring his itinerary because his itinerary is his own business, which he manages quietly. And he is exactly the kind of person the materials describe as an optimal candidate, which I feel mildly bad about, specifically because of the library books. I put this in the same folder as the library books and move on. Background. Since Hendrix said document everything, I found this job the same way I find most jobs, through desperation and insufficient reading comprehension. The posting said, overnight transit coordination. The pay was enough above market that I asked 0 questions at the interview. The man in the good suit said, the training period was 6 weeks with a senior coordinator. I said, great. He said the benefits package included certain protections not typically offered by municipal employers. I said, great. He said, any questions? I said, when do I start? 3 days later, I met Hendrix. Hendrix is the senior coordinator. Hendrix has been the senior coordinator for a while, long enough that certain parts of his face have entered into a separate arrangement with time than the rest of him. His jaw moves differently than jaws are supposed to move. He comes through service doors without using the card reader. When he stands near the 3rd rail, not near it, just on the platform, I feel something in my back teeth. He's an excellent trainer. Patient, thorough, professional. He said my assessment instincts were strong for someone new. I've been filing this under professional validation. It's the only thing in that folder. First week, I watched Hendrix do a run. Didn't assist, just observed. That's the training protocol. What I noticed, he didn't check the board. He sat on the pillar bench, and within 4 minutes, he'd looked at every person on the platform, and looked away from 3 of them, and looked at the 4th one differently. And I understood the difference immediately, without being told what the difference was, which he said afterward was promising. I also noticed that when the service door opened, the things that came through it weren't using the door in quite the way doors are designed to be used. And I noticed that Hendrix watched them with the parts of his face that still worked, which is not all of them, and said nothing. And I said nothing. And the platform was clear in 2 minutes, 42 seconds. And we went upstairs and he bought me a coffee from the machine in the lobby and said, "Same time Thursday, you're doing the assessment." The materials call what I do candidate facilitation and transition coordination. It's the best job title I've ever had. The things that came through the door are called long-term employees in the materials. I have not seen them close up. I set this policy myself on the way home that first Thursday, and Hendrix has not pushed on it, which I consider a professional courtesy. 2:44 a.m. The candidate has set down his book. Finger still in his page, expects to pick it back up. He's checking the board. 4 minutes. He nods and returns to his book. Because he's 300 pages into something and 4 minutes is 4 minutes. I move from the pillar bench to the bench 2 down from his. Business suit has moved to the far end. Students are drifting toward the platform edge. Service door is 12 feet left. Card reader tested green at 2:40. Bag is over my shoulder. I'm not describing the bag, because Hendrix said, "Don't describe the bag." And when Hendrix prohibits something, the reason is probably legible on the functional half of his face. 2 minutes 40 seconds, door to door. Hendrix timed it. Held an actual watch with actual hands and said 2:42, which is good for a second run. And I said, "I'll be faster solo." And he did the jaw thing. 2:46. Train in the tunnel. I feel it before I hear it. The candidate looks up. His reading glasses catch the light from the approaching train. He has his finger still in his page. Train arrives. Doors open. Business suit boards. Students board. Platform clears except for me and the candidate. The candidate stands, tucks the book under his arm, picks up his tote. He is going to get on the train. He is going to get on the train because the train is here. And he is a man who takes trains. And I did not account for this in my assessment, which was otherwise excellent. And Hendrix will find this instructive. Option 1. Let him go. File the missed candidate form, which is 4 pages and requires a second pen, which I did not ring. Wait for the 3:14. Find a new candidate. Spend 27 minutes on a platform alone with whatever is in the maintenance corridor. Option 2. The service door. Go in. Make the sound from page 47 of the materials, which I have memorized and practiced in my car for 2 weeks. The long-term employees respond to the sound. They move faster than the train in the parallel passages. They handle the situation at the next station. I have not used option 2. My policy is that I don't use option 2, because option 2 requires being in the tunnel with the long-term employees, and the long-term employees require being seen close up. And I've looked at Hendrix for 6 weeks and I can track the trajectory of what the job does over time. And I would prefer to track it on my own schedule, rather than ahead of schedule. The candidate is at the door. The doors are starting to close. The candidate steps on. I walk to the service door. I use the card. Green. I go in. The door closes behind me and the air is immediately wrong. Pressure behind my eyes, like descent, like the tunnel is deeper than it should be from street level. I find page 47. I make the sound. Nothing moves. I make the sound again. Several things move. In the walls and the dark and the spaces alongside the tracks that shouldn't have space in them but do. Moving toward me first and then past me. In the direction of the next station. Fast. Faster than the train. As they pass, they are close. And I see them close up for the first time. They look fine. They look like Hendrix. Or they look like what Hendrix looks like, which I've been looking at for 6 weeks and have mostly stopped noticing except on Tuesdays. These ones look like that, but further along, which is a direction I've known existed, and have been choosing not to look down. I'm looking down it now. They move to the next station. I hear the train stop. I hear the candidate saying something I can't make out. His book is going to be overdue. That is not my problem. My job title does not include library fine management. My job is candidate facilitation and I am facilitating. Currently from inside a tunnel in the dark, which is not where I planned to be tonight. But here we are. This is professional development. The long-term employees are coming back. One of them stops. It looks at me. It looks at me the way Hendrix looks at things, which is the way you look at things when looking has become something you do differently than you used to. It has excellent posture. I noticed this. The posture is excellent. Whatever else happened, the posture survived. I say, thank you. It does something with what used to be its face. I decide this is, you're welcome, because I'm an optimist. And also because I need to file the missed candidate form before the 3/14, and I don't have a second pen. And Hendrix would have the second pen. Hendrix has had a second pen since before my parents were born, probably. And I am going to be that prepared. I am going to be excellent at this. I can already tell I'm going to be excellent at this. Because Hendrix said my instincts were strong. And Hendrix does not say things he doesn't mean. The long-term employee with the excellent posture is still looking at me. I look back. I shift my clipboard to my other arm. Fine is the spectrum. And I'm somewhere on it. And the direction of travel is clear. And the timeline is my own. And I have a missed candidate form to file. 4 pages. I haven't mentioned that. 4 pages. And a 3/14 to catch. And I need a second pen. I need a second pen. Hendrix would have a second pen. Hendrix has had a second pen since before my parents were born, probably. And I am going to be that prepared. I am going to be excellent at this. I can already tell I'm going to be excellent at this. Because Hendrix said my instincts were strong. And Hendrix does not say things he doesn't mean. I am going to be very good at this job. Eventually. Hendrix doesn't say things he doesn't mean. Because Hendrix no longer has the facial architecture for insincerity. The form is 4 pages. I should find a pen.